morning, Hope College. This is Jill Nelson coming to you from the Campus Ministries house. I'm honored to be here. And the verse I'd like to share with you today, that is in keeping with our theme of keeping hope, is Joshua 1:9. It's another one of my favorites, and it goes like this. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Joshua 1 is really such a great chapter, and at some point today, it would be great, I think, if you could find a quiet moment and read through it. But let me give you a little background to set the stage. As you may know, in the book of Exodus, Moses leads God's chosen people out of slavery. They leave Egypt and they're headed toward the promised land. And at one point, he sends two spies out, Joshua and Caleb, to check out Canaan, the promised land. And they come back and they report, we can take this land, but the people do not take their word for it. They just are scared, and they say, no, we can't do it. The giants are too big, and we simply cannot. So God actually, this is disobedient to God, so God, because of that disobedience, ends up keeping them in the desert for 40 more years until almost all of that disobedient generation dies out. And so as the book of Joshua opens up, Moses has led these people right to the edge of the promised land, but Moses doesn't get to go in. We find out that Joshua is the chosen leader and that Moses is giving his leadership over, and Joshua has been prepared by God and is ready to lead these people into the promised land. But I think at the beginning of Joshua, he's feeling pretty overwhelmed. As you can imagine, he is at the outset of a seemingly impossible task. They've been waiting, and now they're called to this conquest, an ensuing battle, having to take a land, and he has been depending on his leader, his mentor, his friend Moses, but now Moses has died and he can't go along. And so God is calling Joshua, and I think he's feeling scared and overwhelmed and inadequate and all the rest. Just as maybe some of you are right now, feeling like this is a new land, this is a new day, and I'm called to something that I don't feel super comfortable about. And maybe you're even saying things like, I imagine Joshua saying, seriously, I can't handle this. How am I going to do this? What am I going to do? How am I going to get through this? I'm already at the end of my rope. How can I begin to take all these people into this new land and do something that is completely uncharted, enter uncharted territories? So life has a way of taking us there, I think, but God has a message for us. He had a message for Joshua, but I believe it's also a message for us today. God sees Joshua and intervenes by speaking words of comfort, of confidence, and of command. God sees you, and he sees me as well, and he keeps his promises. He is faithful. In fact, it's his faithfulness over and over and over that can be the fuel for our faith. It's the thing that carries us when we are in uncharted territory. 5 times in this one chapter, God says to Joshua, I will be with you. I will be with you. You've got this, not because of you, but because I will be with you all the way. And then God also offers this command. He says, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, because I will go with you wherever you go. God doesn't say, figure this out, do it on your own, pull yourself together, be stronger. God repeats, I will be with you. I will be with you. When God repeats things like this over and over in Scripture, it's because he knows we need to hear it. It's because he knows it is hard. He knows that Joshua is facing uncharted territory. He also knows that you're facing uncharted territory right now. The giants of this new land might seem pretty big, but they aren't too big for God. Some days it's going to feel like, maybe it's going to feel just like you can't do it. You need to remember that God is faithful, and in His power, you can do this. You can be courageous. You can be obedient because God will be with you. Having said that, though, I want to encourage you that when it's hard, don't feel like you can't cry out to God. Joshua does over and over. Moses did over and over, and I do over and over. Just this morning, I was again crying out to God and asking him to show me the way and to be with me. So we have faith and we trust, and yet at the same time, we can continue to cry out, and God will remind you, as God has reminded me. With His help, with the power of His Spirit, we can trust in His sovereign love, in His grace, in His mercy, and in His provision. And then without fear, we can step forward into this uncharted territory and do the next thing that He's called us to. So spend time today replacing any fear that crops up with the reminders of His truth. Spend time today reminding yourself over and over of the hope that is in His word. That's one thing that God reminds Joshua of. If you read all of Joshua 1, you'll see God reminding him, meditate on my word, know my law, understand who I am. Go back to the word over and over and rest in those promises. Rest in His love. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go.